My grandmother gave me an apartment for my birthday, but my mother tried to take it from me to please her new fiancé. 3 days ago, I turned 15 years old, and my grandmother surprised me with a really special gift. She transferred ownership of an apartment to me. My grandmother does not live in it, she lives in the suburbs, but she has owned the apartment for some years and uses it occasionally when she wants to be closer to the city. I was excited because this last year and a half has been very difficult for me. First, my father abandoned our family. He was always a workaholic and never had much time for me or my mother, but it was still a great shock. My mother didn't even tell me until my father had already moved out of the house almost a year ago. When I found out, they had already filed for divorce. My parents decided that they could no longer live together because my father was too I'm not sure what. I have no idea. He didn't even say goodbye in person. He sent me one last text message after he left, telling me to be good. That was all. I haven't seen him since. It was a quick divorce since, in our state, there is no long waiting period. My mother kept the house and got custody of my brother and me. My father has visitation rights but has never used them, so I don't know what's wrong with that. And as if that wasn't enough, 2 months ago, my mother told me that she had been dating a man whom we will call Robert for almost 3 months. They were in love and got engaged because, according to her, time does not wait, and she did not want to miss the opportunity to be happy. I didn't have time to process that my mother was dating someone new when she suddenly told me that they were already engaged and that this person would become my stepfather. I was not at all happy with the news, since 5 months seemed like too little time to get to know someone enough to commit to. But my mother told me not to worry. She introduced him to me 2 weeks later. He seemed very closed off and distant with me, although he behaved very differently with my brother, being very playful with him. At the beginning, I thought it was because my brother is only 4 years old. It was easier to play with him. But a few weeks later, my mother told me something that completely changed my perception of both of them. 2 weeks ago, my mother asked me to sit with her and informed me that the reason why they got engaged so fast was because Robert was offered an excellent position, but he would have to move out of state. My mother told me that they planned to leave me with my grandmother because she didn't think I wanted to leave everything behind. I told her I wouldn't care if I moved in with them because I had already lost my father, and I didn't want to lose my mother too. However, she tried to convince me that it was a bad idea, saying that my school and my friends were here and that I would be better off if I stayed. But I insisted on going with her. Finally, she admitted that Robert just wanted to take my brother with him because he was small and could still build a good relationship with him, but with me, she said, it was different. According to him, I would never be his child in the real sense of the word, and he hadn't liked me telling my mother that 5 months was too quick to commit to someone she barely knew. Incredibly, my mother agreed with him. This hurt me deeply because I expected at least my mother to be on my side, but she didn't want to leave me behind. This hurt me very much, although I had no problem living with my grandmother because she is a wonderful person, and I love her very much. I also love my mother. I tried to argue with her, but it wasn't worth it, so I told her I wanted to move in with my grandmother immediately. It was not possible to move that same day, but a few days later, I was packed and ready to go. My mother tried to convince me that she still loved me, but I didn't believe her anymore. The last few days I spent at home, I didn't even talk to her. When I left, I didn't bother to say goodbye. The only person I really said goodbye to was my little brother because I knew I would miss him. Since then, I have been living with my grandmother. She has been very understanding and kind. My grandmother is my mother's mother, and, for the record, I have no relationship with my other grandparents, which is not surprising as they hardly had a relationship with my father. She has been exceptionally kind and attentive, and life has been quite easy here. I am still in contact with my brother, and I call my mother every night just to know how he is. 3 days ago, I celebrated my birthday at home. It was my grandmother who organized the party, inviting close friends and select relatives. You can click on share and more to see if there is a part 2.